Smart deadbolts for your home might not be a smart decision.
So, Michael, when I retire for the evening, I always check that deadbolt, make sure that it's bolted. Then I feel like I can just rest easy and not worry about a thing. But you're going to tell me that if I upgrade to a smart deadbolt, it might not be as simple as just resting easy.
Some security researchers were taking a look at Bluetooth-enabled door locks, and they found a number of vulnerabilities in a particular model, the Hickory Smart Bluetooth-enabled deadbolt. They found about a half a dozen vulnerabilities in this particular, enabled IoT-enabled deadbolt, several of which would allow for a remote attacker, an unauthorized individual, to actually be able to unlock the door and gain access to the residence.
If you have one and somebody's able to get into it, you're going to say, well, that wasn't the smart deadbolt that I thought it was.
And this is largely driven by the mobile application, which is provided for free with the lock itself. This affects both iOS and Android-based versions of the application, and would allow an attacker who gained access to your cellular device to be able to recover the credentials in clear text that allowed them to then unlock the door. So because of this need to access your mobile device, these are considered medium risk issues. However, they can have very significant impacts if someone were to actually break into your house. The third issue that would allow them to do this is that on the Android side, they left a debugging function enabled. So anybody who actually had access to the device running the application could actually, or anyone who you delegated to even temporary access to, unlock the door with an application installed on their mobile device, would be able to look in the log artifacts of that debug process and recover the credentials required to open the door, and be able to then use those going forward in the future to unlock the door at any point in time. What's interesting about this particular vulnerability is that it spills over into that cyber physical realm, right, where there can be some very significant real-world impacts associated with the failure of this IoT-enabled device. Specifically, insurance and insurance claims could be a problem. Most insurance claims or insurance policies won't pay out if there's no clear sign of forced entry into a home, right? So if law enforcement and your insurance adjusters can't see evidence that somebody physically broke into your home and stole X amount of property, they may end up simply denying your claim because there's lack of evidence of actual forced entry for the theft.
Yeah, I think there's some parallels too. There's been some attacks where you can ask a machine to give you its credentials, or ask the browser to give you stored credentials, and sometimes it'll serve them up. And it sounds like, in this case, that cryptographic key, it would just give it to you if you asked for it. And then the other thing is debug. Anytime debug's open, we're in for trouble, right? Because you get a lot of writes if that debug's access is open, right, on anything.
So really, this is very concerning. And when you start looking at these IoT devices, this isn't the first such issue that has been identified. There have been a number of other locks on the market over the past year that have had similar critical issues identified as well.
I think they could probably, if they were interested, they could do an auto update to all their devices. But I think you're bringing up a good point that a lot of these small companies that are building these systems really don't want to continually be doing this. They don't want to be in constantly patching and updating. They want to sell more product, different product, and they probably don't have a big security department that's worrying about these, what they would consider very small vulnerabilities, I'm sure, from their perspective.
From a protection perspective, really there's a number of things you can do, even though the vendor in question has neither acknowledged nor provided patches for these related issues today. So really this is going to revolve around securing your mobile device, making sure that that's got a strong PIN or other type of security mechanism or control applied to it so that people can't easily access the device. If it's lost or stolen, and to make sure that you're able to remotely wipe the device in the event that that were to occur as well.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense to me that you want to have the registration, the initial registration, you want to have that pretty solid. And then once it's registered, it's almost like locking your credit score. Like, okay, that's it. I got all the devices I want to open this. And then unless you did like a factory reset, it should stay in that more hardened state and not allow just promiscuous Bluetooth access from other devices.
In this case, the possible exploits were only available to a perpetrator if they actually got access to the phone. So I think in this case, we have to be really careful to not share information from our phone, not allow anyone to have access to information that's in our phone unless you're really sure about those people.